Welcome to the Big Sky Conference Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
Welcome to the Northern Quest Resort and Casino here in Spokane, Washington, as tonight we induct 8 new members into the Big Sky Conference Hall of Fame. Good evening. I am John Casper, the Senior Associate Commissioner at the Big Sky Conference. It is a huge honor and privilege for me to host tonight's Hall of Fame Gala. I'm joined on stage tonight by my talented Big Sky colleague, Megan Robinson. Megan joined our staff less than 2 months ago, and we're excited to have this 4-time Emmy Award winner as part of our family. I am thrilled to announce that our Hall of Fame ceremony is being broadcast live on linear television for the first time, thanks to our wonderful partner, Scripps Sports. An all-star team of Scripps Sports professionals are producing this show for their stations in Montana, Utah, and Idaho. It's also airing live across the country on ESPN+. A driving force behind the creation of the Big Sky Hall of Fame is our Commissioner, Tom Wistersill. Commissioner Wistersill took over as commissioner in December of 2018, and the league has flourished under his leadership. I'd like to invite him on stage to say a few words. Ladies and gentlemen, Commissioner Tom Wistersill.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. First, let me be the first person to congratulate the Hall of Fame inductees on your tremendous accomplishment. We've had thousands and thousands of student athletes come through the Big Sky, and for you to be part of one of the first 3 classes is an amazing accomplishment. I'd like to thank Scripps TV for their support, and also the Northern Quest family here for hosting us. I'd also like for the members of the Big Sky staff that are here to please stand up for just 2 seconds. So our staff members, stand up. There's 8 of them out there, scattered all over the place. I'd like to thank them for all their work, and for those of you that don't know, many of you were affected by the computer glitch that affected our airlines yesterday, and our staff had their flights canceled in Salt Lake City, had to drag bags off the plane, and they started driving at around 7 o'clock last night, drove all night to get here. They got here at 6:30 this morning to make sure that we were ready to roll with this and the kids' clinic from earlier today. So thank you for your work, everybody. I have 2 quick messages. Nobody wants to hear from me tonight. We want to talk to the inductees, I know that. Number 1, we're so proud of what the Big Sky Conference represents. We believe we're the real college sports right now. It's not about the endless money that can go into the student athletes' pockets and the endless chase for dollars into the system to pay coaches more and ADs more and to build facilities. It's not about that. It's about graduating student athletes here, and it's about providing them the most amazing experience that they can have while they compete for a national championship. That's what the Big Sky represents. That's what it represented when each of you were student athletes in the league, and it still represents that today, and we're so very proud of that. My last message is to the inductees. Many of you have your coaches here and former players, and I always mention this because I'm the son of 2 coaches. Nothing makes coaches feel better when they hear from their former student athletes. So think of that high school coach that affected your life, that college coach that maybe couldn't be here. Make sure you give them a phone call and just thank them for being a part of your journey and how that led to your success. It's so meaningful, and that little touch is a big deal. So thank you all for being here, for supporting the Big Sky and coming to celebrate with us, and let's have a great night. Thank you very much. Thank you, John. Good luck.
All right, before we begin with introductions, we need to recognize some dignitaries in attendance tonight. And I might have to go off script because based on some of these travel issues, I know some people have struggled to make it here. But first of all, we have several members of our Hall of Fame committee here tonight. These are the people that are tasked with selecting this group. It's a wonderful group. Many of them I consider friends that have helped me in my career. We're joined tonight by Dave Guffey of Montana, Bill Lamberty of Montana State, Mike Nisbet from Northern Arizona, Mike Lund from Portland State, Brian Berger from Sacramento State, Northern Arizona Athletic Director Mike Marlowe, and Maureen Taylor Regan of the University of Idaho. Thank you all for attending tonight. I'm also happy to say we have one of our last year's inductees in attendance tonight. She was unable to attend last year, but she has a former student athlete of hers being inducted tonight. So the legendary Sacramento State women's volleyball coach, Debbie Kohlberg, is in attendance. Debbie, thank you for being here. So we were supposed to have a special guest here tonight. He has struggled to get here, so this next part I'm going to have to kind of ad-lib a little bit. But, you know, if you were here last year, you remember I made a joke about my high school 40-yard dash time, and no one believes me when I tell them I ran a 4 or 5 second 40-yard dash. I went to really great lengths, but apparently not enough to invite one of my former high school teammates to be here to verify that. That guy actually led Washington State to a Rose Bowl and was a second-round draft pick in 1998. And he's going to be here tomorrow to speak to our student athletes. Ryan Leaf, I'm happy to be here. That's going to speak. True fact, like I actually caught his first high school touchdown pass. And this was a moment that if he was here, I was actually going to have him throw me a football and catch it, and he was going to verify that. But he may show up later. If you see him, say hi. But we're excited to have him as part of the kickoff this year. Yeah, as you know, as Tom mentioned, this was quite a trek to get here. At 5:30 this morning, we were in St. Regis, Montana. The sun was about to come up. We were at a place that said they had like great huckleberry shakes, but they weren't serving the shakes at 5:30. But there was like this toy, you know, those horses that you put 50 cents in. And, you know, it was that time of the morning, I guess. We'd been up. I decided to get on that Bronco and pretend I was a saddle bronc rider just to make everyone laugh. So we're so glad to get here at 6:40 this morning. We wouldn't have missed this event for anything. A couple of our sponsors to thank. We have a great partner in Barron Rings. They are providing, for the second year, beautiful Hall of Fame rings to our 8 inductees. So thank you so much to Barron Rings. These Hall of Famers are going to have these as mementos, and they're going to cherish them. Also, a huge thanks to our partners, Jeremiah Johnson Brewing of Great Falls, Montana, and also the wonderful crew here at Northern Quest Resort and Casino. You've seen some amazing branding, Big Sky stuff. You got the dealers wearing Big Sky stuff. It's really cool. All right, here we go. Tonight, we induct 8 amazing former student athletes and coaches. We have a man who coached an NBA championship team. We'll recognize 2 national championship football coaches. We'll honor elite female student athletes, a Walter Payton Award winner, a former NFL first-round draft pick, and one of the greatest basketball players in league history. And that's where we'll start tonight. Let's take a look at the first inductee of the Big Sky Conference Hall of Fame class of 2024.
Orlando Lightfoot played basketball at Idaho from 1991 to 94 and was a 2-time Big Sky Most Valuable Player, earning the title in both 93 and 94. He was named Big Sky Newcomer of the Year in 1992 and was a Big Sky Conference first-team selection all 3 seasons with the Vandals. He left Idaho as the all-time leading scorer for both the Vandals and the Big Sky Conference. After racking up 2,102 points while in Moscow, Lightfoot enjoyed a solid career playing professionally in Europe from 1994 to 2007. Orlando Lightfoot, Idaho Vandal, and member of the Big Sky Conference Hall of Fame.
All right. During the lead up to this Hall of Fame, I scoured through some old VHS tapes. For those young folks in here, you might want to look that up, what a VHS tape is. They were sent to me by our longtime Associate Commissioner, Arnie Scalio, who I know is watching at home. Arnie, we miss you, love you. But among those tapes were games featuring our first inductee of the night, and they were actually, some of them were used in those highlights. That's Orlando Lightfoot. There was Orlando scoring this way, that way, dunking, driving the lane. He was a scorer. His old coach at Idaho, Joe Cravens, said to me, "John, you know Orlando Lightfoot could fall out of bed and score 20 points. Is that pretty good, Joe Cravens?" All right, no? Okay. All right. In just 3 seasons at Idaho, Lightfoot scored 2,201 points, which was a Big Sky record for more than 20 years. Remember, I said he only played 3 years. It's easy to see a world where Orlando Lightfoot never played in the Big Sky or never played college basketball. He was a parade All-American, the Class 2A Mr. Tennessee Basketball Player of the Year. Billy Tubbs recruited him to play at Oklahoma, but he didn't have the grades to get in there. After spending a year at junior college, Orlando ended up at Idaho. There, he did not miss a class until his senior year. He played and dominated. Twice, he was named the National Player of the Week by Sports Illustrated. He scored 50 points in just 30 minutes in a game against Gonzaga. Then Gonzaga coach Dan Fitzgerald said after the game, it was 1 howitzer against 5 pop guns. He was twice named the Big Sky Player of the Year. All 3 years he played, he was first team all-conference. After a long professional career in Europe, he returned to his hometown of Chattanooga, Tennessee. He is currently the Director of Outreach and Program Development for the Boys and Girls Club of Chattanooga. He is making a difference for the youth in his community. And that, my friends, is more important than anything he did on the basketball court. Let's welcome Idaho Vandal, Orlando Lightfoot, to the Big Sky Hall of Fame.
Orlando, first and foremost, congratulations on being here. Major accomplishment. Now, your career, although you're a Hall of Famer, was not smooth sailing.
Right.
You told me your first year at Idaho, you actually had to sit the season out.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn about yourself during that first year?
I learned about myself. I focused more on school than anything. You know, I didn't do much in high school when it came to school because I was a superstar and I was lazy and I was thinking everything was going to be given to me. So getting to U of I was a wake-up call when it came to education. So I put that first and foremost. Basketball-wise, I stayed in shape. I played with a lot of guys that was, on the team in the off-season. So, the community really had me in a great positive mood when I was sitting out, honestly.
During that time, you got to sit and watch the practices. You thought, cake.
Right.
What happened after your first practice when you were finally eligible to play?
So when I was finally eligible to play, practice was so hard. I went to Larry Eustace's office and cried. The first day, I said, I can't do this, man. I'm going back to Chattanooga. So he laughed and he said, each day would get better. If you keep working hard, each day would get better, and it got better.
What would you tell the kid sitting in coach's office crying, saying, I can't do this, to the man sitting here today, a Big Sky Hall of Famer?
I would tell the kid, just enjoy the moment. It's tough moments, but try to enjoy it. Everything is not going to be a cakewalk. And before that, everything has been a cakewalk for me. So just enjoy the moment and just keep working hard.
John mentioned it a little bit. You mentioned it to me in our conversation on Zoom last month that you weren't the best student in high school.
Right.
You get to college, you buckled down, almost had perfect attendance there. What changed for you that made you want to put the student in student athlete?
I said, as soon as I came to the university, I'm not going back home without a degree. That was the first and most important thing that was with me, is that I'm not leaving this university, I'm not leaving this campus until I graduate. And that was my focus.
When you think about everything you accomplished on the court and graduating, which would you say is the bigger accomplishment for you?
Graduation. Absolutely, by far.
You're the Director of Outreach for the Boys and Girls Club in Chattanooga, Tennessee. What advice do you have for those kids who might want to pursue athletics at a higher level?
Take advantage of the resources that are given to you. Try to go out and do different things, step outside the box. Try to be what you can't see, meaning go do other things that you're not accustomed to doing.
When you think about everything you accomplished at Idaho, what are you most proud of?
A young kid that you meet at 5, 6 years old, and they're 20, 23, and they come back and give you a big hug when they see you out. It's just, you can't put a dollar sign on that. It's just unbelievable.
What does that mean to you?
It means that I'm moving the needle just a little bit. I'm part of a big movement that we all impact kids in a positive way, and that's what this whole thing is about. That's my calling.
Who are some of the people throughout your career that have had the biggest impact on you as a person and a player?
Lance Urban, my first roommate here at the University of Idaho, Deion Washington, Frank Waters, Without those two guys, I would not be sitting here today. Yeah, I had a lot of teammates, Mark Leslie, Ricky Wilson, a lot of guys. You know, my coaches, Joe Cravers, Larry Eustacy. If it wasn't for that village, I would not be here at all.
What's your favorite memory from your
My
time
favorite
at Idaho?
memory is that graduation day, by far. Absolutely. Basketball-wise, it's not the Gonzaga game, it's the Boise State game. Yeah. Yeah.
What happened in that game?
I think it was double overtime, and I hit a big 30-foot three-pointer. We win the game. I had, I think, 44 and 18, something like that. Yeah. And we won in the Kibbe Dome.
We chatted a little bit earlier tonight, and you actually got to go back to campus
Yeah.
yesterday. What was that experience like for you?
I think I was born too early. That arena is unbelievable. It stands against anyone that you can visit. The work that they put in it, the money they put in, it's going to attract some really, really good recruits to the University of Idaho. It was surreal. It really was.
Obviously, there's no place like home, but everyone loves to go on the road and beat that certain team, win at that certain arena. What was that team and what was that arena for you?
Boise State. My junior year, we had to clinch the conference with the win on the road at Boise State. And we beat them, and I jumped on the scorer's table and just put my hands up, and I had about 15 drinks thrown at me at that time. So that was my best moment right there on the road.
Now, I asked you what you would tell the boys and girls that you work with about being an athlete. What would you tell them about chasing their dreams as someone who never gave up on their dreams?
Dream and set a goal. You know, if you don't set a goal, you're just out there, just all over. You have no direction. So just set a goal and just try to accomplish short-term goals. You know, take baby steps to get to where you're going.
You've mentioned several times that you're most proud of graduating, walking across that stage.
Yes.
What do you think that moment meant to your parents?
It meant a lot. You know, my mom and my sister came out to my graduation. I was the first one in my family to even go to college. And to finish it, you know, they were really proud. And it was just a great moment in my life. It really was.
What would they say about this moment?
I'm proud of you. Now go take out the trash. Absolutely.
Orlando, is there anything else you want to say while you have the stage?
No, I just want to say the University of Idaho has been great to me. The Moscow community has been great to me, and I'm forever grateful, you know, being a Vandal for life.
Well, congratulations once again on this honor.
Thank you.
Coming up, Don Reed and Bill Kolar. Don Reed was the head football coach at Montana from 1986 to 95, where he led Montana to its first national championship in 1995. Reed was named the 1995 AFCA 1AA Coach of the Year and was a three-time Big Sky Coach of the Year in 1989, 1993, and 1995. Reed led the Grizzlies to two Big Sky titles in 1993 and 1995. Reed was Montana's all-time winningest coach from 1995 to 2018 and took the Grizzlies to the 1AA playoffs in 5 of his 10 seasons. He also mentored Walter Payton Award winner and Big Sky Hall of Famer Dave Dickinson at quarterback. Don Reed, Montana Grizzly and member of the Big Sky Conference Hall of Fame.
When Montana hired Don Reed as head football coach prior to the 1986 football season, his collegiate head coaching record was 70, 90, and 1, including a 9-24 record in 3 seasons as the head coach of the Oregon Ducks. There likely wasn't a lot of hope Reed would turn around the fortunes of the Grizzlies. But Don Reed never had a losing season in his 10 years as a head coach at Montana. He capped his career by leading the Grizzlies to the 1995 1AA National Championship. Don Reed's innovative pass-first offense worked in Missoula. It didn't hurt that Washington Grizzly Stadium opened in his first season. Coach Reed was great at a lot of things, but not remembering names. He often referred to players by their numbers, as in like, hey, number 21. One of my college roommates played for Coach Reed. His first name was Guy Atkins from Billings, Montana. Guy told me the running joke on the team was that he was the only player who Coach knew his name because he called everybody Guy. Coach Reed was also superstitious. He would always pick up a penny that was displayed heads up but never tails up. Members of the athletic department would leave pennies on the floor, heads up, and Coach Reed would pick them up for good luck. He may have used some of those pennies to pay for the Snickers candy bars he would purchase after a victory. He'd leave those candy bars in the mailboxes of the athletic department staff as a thank you. Prior to tonight's event, Dennis Murphy, the longtime athletic director, gave me this: the Snickers bar, a penny, heads up, pencil, thank you note. That meant a lot, and he gave them to some people here tonight. Coach Reed returned to Montana about 20 years ago to serve as the interim athletic director. It was during this period I got to know Coach Reed. I found him to be warm, caring, and kind, and still very much in love with the game of football. He spent many August days at practice watching a young head coach named Bobby Houck. Coach Don Reed passed away on January 3rd of this year, just days before Houck and the Grizzlies played in the FCS National Championship game. Coach Houck is on stage tonight to share some of his memories of the legendary Don Reed.
Well done, John.
Coach Houck, what does it mean to you to be the representative up here to speak on Coach Reed?
Well, thanks for asking, Megan. You know, it's really personally an honor and a privilege to speak on behalf of the Reed family. You know, they're a group of people that are dear to me personally, but to all of Montana. You know, everybody loved Coach. He was easy to like and just did such a great job. And you know, for me to be able to be up here, and this is such great company to be in, you know, the Big Sky Conference and its history, and you just look at who's here tonight. I mean, Coach Mata, I went to his basketball camp when I was a kid in Dillon. My dad grew up in Butte with Sonny Holland. Coach Kohler is a guy, he was the man when I was younger, when I was in high school, and I was always kind of afraid of him, still kind of am a little bit. You'll see in a few minutes. And then, you know, I see Eric Meyer sitting over here, and I mean, I spent years trying to stop Eric's performance, with not much success. So it's just a really cool deal for me to be up here, and a pleasure to share a few thoughts about Coach Reed. You know, I got the prop, right? That, John mentioned Dennis Murphy had these for some people, and you know, Coach would come by after he had a good performance, and this carried on to when he was the athletic director, and he'd have this little yellow legal pad. He'd write a note on it, and he had a Snickers bar as a congratulations, the penny that he found taped up to it, and a pencil. I don't know, everybody needed a pencil, but obviously we did. So, but he would, as John mentioned, he would never pick up a penny unless it was heads up, and he would look around. You'd look out there, and you'd look out the window, and even when he was the AD, you'd look out the window, and it's like, Coach lost or something. He'd drop his keys. He's looking around the parking lot for a penny. So we kind of got tired of the staff meetings starting late, so the coaches would leave some pennies laying around so we could get things started on time, because he was relentless. He wouldn't quit. So, you know, he was really a special guy and treated everyone like a winner. And we have our 10 commandments in our office, and those are Coach's 10 commandments, and it's, you know, play to win. Everyone's a competitor, but my favorite is treat everyone like a winner. And you were to know he didn't know anybody's names, but we were expected to know. If somebody's cleaning the locker room, you better know their name. Somebody's driving the bus, you better know their name.
Coach, he hired you as an assistant back in 1988. We found this old video.
Yeah,
you might recognize someone in that. There you go.
I'm not sure that sweater fits anymore.
It's a great look, though. It's a great
There's
look.
Bob Beers. I look tall. We had little receivers back in those days.
What's it like seeing this old footage from the early stages of your career?
Well, you know, it's one of those deals. I was a volunteer. I didn't make any money, and I felt like when Coach hired me, I'd won the lottery. I mean, that was it was such a great honor and a privilege to work at Montana and work for the great Don Reed, and that was a special group of guys. And I don't know, Heinzman's back there laughing, making fun of my haircut, I guarantee you.
Grizzly Stadium opened the same year that Don Reed began as head coach in Montana. It coincided with his introduction of a new type of offense. How did that offense change Big Sky football?
Well, it all started with Larry Donovan, the former head coach, and Dennis Washington. And Larry basically badgered Dennis into completing that stadium. So through the generosity of the Washington family, which carries on, that stadium was in process of being built. And then Coach Reed showed up, and he took over what was really, to be kind, an average football program. And he just kept working at it. He hired great guys. He recruited good young men that wanted to play hard and play for Montana. And he built the thing into just really something special. And I always thought that the good football teams take on their head coach's character. And Coach Reed's persona was on the, I don't want to discount our defense because I think we were pretty good on defense, but his persona was on the offensive side of the ball. He was in that time and age with Portland State, goes back with coaches like Mouse Davis, and then at Oregon with Dan Fouts being the quarterback and all the precursor to the air raid offense. And it wasn't West Coast, it was one back offense and run and shoot oriented stuff, and they lit up the scoreboard. And he was one of the guys, and there's some Big Sky Conference Hall of Fame coaches like Dennis Erickson and Keith Gilbertson were all at the same time doing the same thing. So along with Tommy Lee and Bob Beers, Coach Reed put together an offense that was spectacular, and I mean that scoreboard looked like a slot machine sometimes.
John mentioned in 10 years as head coach, Coach Reed did not have a losing season. You've been in the game of football for a while. How difficult is that to accomplish?
Well, you know, my personal opinion is that every game's hard to win, and they're all big games, and the other side's trying too. And for Coach to come into our place, and I think the key to the straw that stirred the drink, so to speak, was his positive attitude. So he infused, and it goes back to the candy bars and the notes and the pennies and the pencils, but he infused the place with a positive attitude that said we can win, because it was really a place that we might win. And he moved that dial forward through his positive outlook on it. He made everyone feel special. He made everyone feel like they're a contributor. It's a parameter that we use to this day in our program. And he took the thing from, again, a program that was very average to being competitive, being in the playoffs, never having a losing record, never losing the rivalry game, and then goes to 1993, wins his first conference championship. In 1995, he won his second conference championship, went undefeated, won the national championship, and showed it could be done at Montana. Where he did something nobody thought could happen. And for that, I think, you know, our university's in debt to him, but everybody really feels like the guy worked a miracle at that point in time. Now they expect it every year.
Coach Hauk, thank you for being here and representing the Hall of Fame coach, Don Reed.
Great. Long live Don Reed. Thanks, Megan.
Bill Kolar played football at Montana State from 1971 to 73 and was inducted as a member of the College Football Hall of Fame in 2023. He was a first-team All-Big Sky honoree in 1971, 72, and 73, becoming the first lineman and second defensive player in league history to earn first-team All-Conference honors 3 times. He was a first-team All-America honoree in 1973 and a second-team All-America recipient in 1972. He was drafted 24th overall in the 1974 NFL Draft by the Cincinnati Bengals, and the former Bobcat won MVP honors at the 1974 Senior Bowl, becoming the first defensive player ever to do so. Bill Kolar, Montana State Bobcat, and member of the Big Sky Conference Hall of Fame.
All right. Our third inductee tonight wrestled a bear. I'll repeat that because it's worth repeating. Our third inductee tonight wrestled a bear. Not a Chicago bear or a Montana grizzly. We're talking about a real bear. You wrestle a bear, that should be automatic induction into any and all Hall of Fames. So the story goes, Kolar was offered $50 to take a photo with a bear. When he arrives, he was told he wasn't taking a photo, he was wrestling the bear. He didn't back down. I mean, the bear got a lick in, and then he rushed the 7-foot bear to the ground, winning the battle. Guy came up to him and said, "Hey, we got a 9-foot Kodiak next week. You want to do that, Barrett?" He declined. I don't know why. I think you had him. Megan, if you don't have a question about this story, I'm giving you a few seconds to edit that in, so just be prepared. But just 4 Big Sky Conference football players have been drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, and one of those is Bill Kolar. He was taken 23rd overall, just 2 picks behind the great Lynn Swann. During his time at Montana State, the native of Warren, Ohio, was an all-Big Sky first-team pick 3 straight seasons on the defensive line. His number 77 has been retired by the Bobcats. He was the MVP of the 1974 Senior Bowl and was inducted into the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame in 2014. Just this past December, Kolar was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, becoming the 5th former Big Sky player to earn the honor. Known for his toughness, passion, and no-nonsense approach, he thrived as an NFL assistant for more than 30 years, mentoring players like J.J. Watt. He was also Denver's defensive line coach when the Broncos won Super Bowl 50, and I know in the last years of his career, he was able to coach a former Bobcat, Alex Singleton, great player, and I'm sure that meant a lot to you. Some would say Kolar is the greatest defensive player in league history. He is the only Big Sky defensive player ever selected in the first round of the draft. He's one of 2 former Big Sky defensive players in the College Football Hall of Fame. It's hard to look at stats from that era because defensive stats weren't readily kept. The best or the second best or the third best, it doesn't matter. The guy wrestled a bear, won, and we are honored to induct Mr. Bill Kolar into the Big Sky Conference Hall of Fame.
Bill, this was the first time I'm hearing that bear story. You're sitting here smiling, nodding your head the entire time John's going through it. How true and accurate was his description?
It's true. I mean, they conned me into coming down. They said, we'll give you $50. Back then, that was a lot of money. And so I went down, and I get down there. There's 50 people around, and I come up, and I say, "Hey, what's going on?" They said, "Well, somebody's going to wrestle a bear." I said, "What?" So I, go around and I see the guy over there, and I said, "What's the deal?" He said, "Hey," "we're going to have you wrestle a bear." I said, "You got to be kidding me." You said, "I was going to take a picture." He said, "No, you'll be all right," So, and I had wrestled a little bit, but I mean, a little bit different. It had a muzzle on and no claws and everything. But so the bear, he said, "Just don't take a step back." Well, I paired up with it, and I took one little step back, and the bear just dropped and tackled me, and I go down, and bear's on top of me. I'm kicking to get it off, and I finally get it off, and they say, "Hey, we really appreciate it." I said, "Oh." I said, "We got to do this again." I said, it was on TV, right? So I can't end up getting, beat like that bad. So we get back up and we lock up again, and I just bowled him over on his back, and I said, "Okay, we're done now." So, but it is true.
I thought they were about to pull footage up of the bear. And
I
was
wish
like,
we
wow,
did. I've tried to find it. I can't find it.
Yeah, we'll just take your word for it, Coach. John mentioned it. Last year, you were also inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Now you're in the Big Sky Hall of Fame. What's it like to be in multiple College Football Hall of Fames?
Oh, it's obviously awesome. I mean, and obviously, when you get something like this that happens, you got to remember your teammates because we're all in it together, right? I mean, back then when came from Ohio out to Montana and stuff, and just loved Montana. Couldn't think any more highly of it. a great decision to come out to Bozeman and to play with the guys that I played with and stuff, and, to be able to get honored, like you said, in both Hall of Fames is just something that I never imagined. I know I hear people, I'm going to do that, not me. I was like, hey, I'm going to go out and play and, hope things work out and stuff. And, I never had this in my imagination it would come out something like this.
I think some of your former teammates are here tonight too, as your former head coach is also being inducted this evening. What does it mean to you to have those gentlemen here to celebrate both you and your former coach?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, great guys. Like I said, I mean, you can't beat Montana State. I mean, it was, a great place to play, great teammates, the whole thing. Coach Holland obviously was awesome the whole time I was there and stuff. And, we had a big shindig down in Vegas back in December. A bunch of guys came down and had a great time. And for these guys to come in, really surprised me. I mean, I can't, say anything more. It's just, tremendous for those guys to support me like this. And like I said, they were great teammates, back then, and they still are now.
Listening to you, people who don't know you might think you grew up in Montana. That's not true. You were actually from Ohio. How did you go from Ohio to Bozeman?
Well, Joe Tiller came back and recruited me. He actually signed 4 of us out of the state of Ohio that year. And I went out and visited out there and stuff and really liked it. Warren is a steel mill town, up around Cleveland and stuff. And the mills were still rolling, but you could see they were sort of going to be on the decline. And my dad, said, boy, it'd be good to end up, getting out of this area and going somewhere else. And I, visit a couple other schools. I really like Montana, Montana State, when I end up going out there and visiting and stuff. And again, it turned out to be a tremendous and definitely the right decision for me to go out there and play out there.
You've played and coached in the NFL, so you know what it takes to make it at that level. There are players in this room who hope to make it to that level. What is your advice to kids and current players who hope to play in the NFL?
And I'm sure all of the players in here and really everybody that goes to college and stuff, you obviously hope that you're going to be able to end up making it. And, like I always say, the biggest thing that I try to end up doing, because I was 190 pounds my senior year of high school, and, to think that I'm going to get big enough, strong enough to be a defensive lineman in the NFL for that many years, I had to be crazy. But it shows you that it can be done. But one thing that I always end up saying is you can always outwork your opponent. The guy's bigger than me, he's faster than me, he's stronger than me, all that kind of stuff. There's nothing I can do about that, right? I'm going to work, I can. But one thing that you can always do, and you can control it, you can outwork the guy you're playing against. There's nothing more important than that right there. And that's how I played, or at least I tried to play, and that's how I coached. All right? And to me, it's the most important thing, whatever. Outwork your opponent, and things are going to be good. And just think of this, it's going to carry over for your whole life, right? It's all the same. I mean, if you're lazier than this guy, right, guess what? He's going to end up outdoing you. So you always want to get to the point where outwork the person that you're going against, and things are going to turn out well.
Where does that work ethic come from?
Well, my dad, again, was a steel worker, so, and that back then, that was a hard job, right? So he sort of instilled it in me, and stuff. And then, just as you would see, and I think one of the biggest things, I wrestled in high school, and it really gets to the point, you're out there, it's one-on-one. Either you kick that guy's butt or he kicks your butt, right? So I think that really ended up helping me overall in my whole output of life, and especially in football, where I'm going to go as hard as I can, and yeah, I'm going to get knocked on my butt, I'm going to get back up and come after you again. And I think that's how, I sort of try to live my whole life.
Bill, it worked out. You're a Big Sky Hall of Famer. Congratulations once again.
Thank you very much.
Coming up, Sonny Holland and Lindsey Haupt. Alan Sonny Holland was the head football coach at Montana State from 1971 to 77, where he became the first coach to lead a Big Sky football program to a national championship. when the Bobcats captured the Division II crown in 1976. Holland led Montana State to a pair of Big Sky championships in 1972 and 1976. He was a two-time Big Sky Coach of the Year, winning the award in 1972 and 1976. During his head coaching tenure, his teams produced 9 future NFL players and a dozen All-Americans. Sonny Holland, Montana State Bobcat and member of the Big Sky Conference Hall of Fame.
Mr. Alan A. Sonny Holland, simply put, the greatest Bobcat of them all. I'm not sure anything I can say tonight will do this man justice. From a player to a coach to the director of MSU Alumni Association, Sonny Holland was Montana State. There's a statue of Coach Sonny Holland outside of Bobcat Stadium, a statue that all the players touch every Saturday as they make their way to the stadium from the Bobcat Prowl. The students in Bobcat Stadium sit in the Sonny Holland zone. Holland is being inducted tonight for his time as the head coach of the Bobcats, a tenure where he coached Montana State to the 1976 NCAA Division II National Championship, the Big Sky's first football national title. But we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that he played center for Montana State from 1956 to 59, years before the formation of the Big Sky Conference. He helped the Bobcats claim the 1956 NAI National Championship. His number 52 is retired. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention that Sonny Holland was the first ever football coach at C.M. Russell High School in Great Falls, Montana. I did it again. I got another CMR reference in, but that's important to me. We'd also be remiss if we didn't mention Coach Sonny Holland was born in Butte, Montana. And if you know anything about Montana, you know that people from Butte are full of pride. Legend has it that when Butte native Tommy Malott raced 73 yards for a touchdown in the fourth quarter of the Bobcats' playoff win over Tennessee Martin, a touchdown that basically clinched the win, Holland, seated in Athletic Director Leon Costello's suite, raised both of his arms in celebration and just said one word, Butte. Sonny Holland passed away in December of 2022. We are honored tonight to have his 3 daughters in attendance. Wendy, Heidi, and Jody, could you please stand up? Thank you so much for being here. We did a Zoom call with Leon Costello back when we announced this, and it's just been an honor to communicate with you all and get to know these fine ladies, the daughters of Mr. Bobcat. Thank you so much for being here as your father is inducted into our Hall of Fame. Our previous inductee, Bill Kohler, was coached by Sonny, so it's fitting we have him here tonight, both being inducted on the same night. Megan's going to talk with Mr. Kohler about Sonny's legacy.
Bill, thanks for staying to talk about your former coach, Sonny Holland. I've talked to a handful of your teammates, some other people associated with the Montana State football program, and everyone agrees that Coach Holland was a modest man. How do you think he'd feel about this honor tonight?
Well, I think he'd be unbelievably proud. I mean, the guy was a great guy. I mean, everybody loved him, when he was there. And, when he became the head coach, I mean, had great respect from everybody. And turned out to be the same way. He got into fundraising for the university for a bunch of years and stuff. And like you said, he was just so well loved by everybody.
When I talked to your former teammate, Brad Dawes, a few weeks ago, he said, what's the deal with this Hall of Fame thing? Can people go? And as soon as I said yes, he rallied the troops, got a bunch of your teammates here tonight to celebrate both you and Coach Holland. What does that say about the type of coach Coach Holland was that you guys all wanted to be here tonight?
Oh, yeah. He was, me and Brad played right next to each other for a couple of years and stuff. And Coach Holland really instilled that in the whole group. Here we're a team, we stick together. A lot of teams now say the same stuff. Whether they live by it or not, it's hard to say, but they talk it, where back then, that's how we were. I mean, there was no doubt about it. Guys stuck together, and Coach Holland really instilled that in all of us.
Everyone I spoke to also said that Coach Holland was a man of few words, but when he spoke, everyone listened. How would you describe his demeanor in the locker room?
Yeah, he wasn't a hauler by any stretch of the imagination, so I was about as totally different from him than anything really. I'm a little loud and stuff, but I mean, he had tremendous respect, by the way he did it. I remember he used to like to chew a lot, right? So he'd get out there, and we'd be sitting in, the field house or whatever, getting ready before practice, and he'd put a chew in. And boy, you could see him get wired up and tuned up. But again, I mean, he was not a hauler by any stretch of the imagination. At that time we had, Sonny Lubick and Bill Christensen, Dennis Erickson, Cliff Heisel on the staff. We had a tremendous staff and stuff. And guys, took the lead of Coach Holland. And obviously Coach Lubick and Coach Erickson did a tremendous job, in college football over the years.
What's your favorite memory of your time with Coach Holland?
Okay, my sophomore year, Coach Holland would always end up meeting with us after spring ball and ask us, where we planned on staying, the next year. So I told him, I said, I'm going to end up staying off campus. It's about 6 miles off the campus. I had no car, right? And, he says, oh, no, you're not. I said, yeah. I said, I'm going to stay in. A couple guys were a little rowdy. The guys here end up knowing who I'm talking about, and they were a little rowdy and stuff. And he said, "No, you're going to." And no, I said, "Coach, you're staying in." I said, "Okay." Turned out to be the best thing that ever happened, because I'll promise you right now, if I'd have lived off campus, none of you would ever heard from me again. I promise you. These guys were nuts, but just think of this. It's 0 out, and I'm going to walk 6 miles to campus to go to school. So the best thing Coach Holland ever did was not let me live off campus.
You were on campus your entire career at Montana State.
Well, my senior year I got off, but that was a little different.
As John said, there is a statue now of Coach Holland outside of the stadium. He's the only person on campus with a statue, and as players walk in, they touch the statue. Why is it so important for current and future players to understand the significance of Coach Sonny Holland at Montana State?
Well, I think what happens, for the job that he did, back then, as also now a 3-time All-American as a player, and then the job that he did as a coach, and just bringing, the pride back to Montana State. All the players, they just automatically, it's not like, hey, you got to go over and touch, Coach Holland, the statue and stuff. It's all done by them, on what they've seen over the years and what they know he has, done for the program.
I mean, these players weren't even a thought when Coach Holland was still coaching. What does that say about the significance of Coach Holland to Montana State that players are like, we need to honor him before every game?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just shows, the respect that he has. He earned it by what he did over the years, right? He didn't demand it. Hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. No, he earned it by how he lived his life and what he did for the, Montana State University. And it's, just really a tremendous feat for him.
It's apparent what he means to Montana State University. What do you think Montana State University meant to him?
Oh, everything. I think, when you go out of Butte, right, which back then that was a really tough area, right, and went to Montana State, he realized not only what he did for Montana State, but for what Montana State did for him, right? You got to remember, there's always two sides to the story, right? And, just like me or anybody else, right? Anybody that ends up getting inducted this Hall of Fame or any Hall of Fame, there's two sides, right? And you help each other out, and great things can end up coming from it.
We know the players already touch the statue and honor Coach Holland before every game. How can they continue to carry on his legacy going forward?
I think it will be, just like that, really. He is, people love him there. There's nothing, anybody could ever do, because he's already done it. His work is already done, right? What he did, what he showed, what he ended up doing, and it's just, a beloved person by the whole Montana State, university crowd.
Bill, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to chat about your former coach. Congratulations to both you and Coach Holland on this Hall of Fame honor.
Thank you very much.
Lindsay Haupt played volleyball at Sacramento State from 2004 to 07, where she led the Hornets to Big Sky tournament titles in all 4 years of her career, as well as 3 league regular season championships. Haupt was a 2-time Big Sky Most Valuable Player for the Hornets, winning the honor in the 05 and 07 seasons. She was a 2-time Big Sky Tournament MVP, taking the honors in the 05 and 06 tournaments. Lindsay Haupt, Sacramento State Hornet and member of the Big Sky Conference Hall of Fame.
The small Northern California town of Etna, population 678, was originally named Rough and Ready. It should come as no surprise that a young female athlete from Rough and Ready had amazing work ethic. That's the word that kept popping up in my research about Lindsay Haupt. Sprints at the end of practice, she sprinted as hard as she could every single time. Look at any picture of her and you'll see the tape on her palms and her thumbs. Lindsay had to drive 2 hours one way to play club volleyball. Oftentimes, matches were 7 or 8 hours away. Legendary Sacramento State coach Debbie Kohlberg saw her athleticism and her hunger while looking for a medal at a volleyball festival. She told assistant coach Ruben Volta, now the Hornets head coach, who's also here tonight, that she thought she found someone. But the 2 coaches didn't want to draw attention to her, so they watched from 2 courts away. She was raw when she arrived in the capital city of California, but she learned and learned quickly. She was the freshman of the year. As a true freshman, didn't sit out. Twice she was the league's MVP. Twice was the tournament MVP. 4 times she led her team to the NCAA tournament, including a 2007 victory over the University of Minnesota. With all of her success, I'm sure she was quickly forgiven for the time she packed 2 right-footed shoes on a trip to Montana. Volta, longtime team athletic trainer in SWA, Lois Matthijs, who's the one that taped her up, had to load up on a bus and try to find Mizuno volleyball shoes. Thankfully, they did. I don't know, you got the right shoes on tonight? We're so honored to welcome you to the Hall of Fame, Lindsay.
Lindsay, when we spoke last week, you said you grew up playing the sports you loved, and you weren't necessarily a good volleyball player, you were just a good athlete. How would you describe your club volleyball career prior to your time at Sacramento State?
So I didn't play as much club as everybody else. I had played, I played 1 season before Debbie and Ruben found me, and then I played my senior year, and then I started college. And so I was very fresh and very young and kind of, fell into club, and then, Debbie and Ruben picked me up and went on my way.
John mentioned it a little bit in his introduction to you. How did they find you? They were not watching your court.
Sure. I'm not sure. I mean, I think that some of my naivety really kind of helped me because I just wanted to play the game, and I loved playing volleyball. And so anytime I remember being at those festivals, and I remember that when I would pepper with my teammates, I would do it the best I could. When I would warm up and I would be hitting the ball just in warm-ups, it was the best I could because that was my time to show and shine that I love the game. And, as I said, I really wasn't that good, but I tried really hard, and, each opportunity to really show.
What do you think people can learn about your work ethic going from someone who barely played club to now a Big Sky Hall of Fame volleyball player?
Well, I think it's exactly what it is, nobody sits there when they walk in the gym and say, oh, I'm going to be a Hall of Famer. Yes, we would all love to be, but we don't, say, oh, well, that's, going to be given to me. And so it's those each and every little step that you take. So it's that, trying to reach your highest reach on your, jumps when you're in testing, showing up when you're ready to play at the beginning of the season, trying to not let Kristen Lutz beat you in sprints, and all those things of showing up and being a good teammate. So it's every one of those little things put together to then you end up where you have a wonderful, championship team, and then you hope to get the individual awards along the way.
Who were some of the biggest people who had the biggest impact on your player development and your career at Sacramento State?
Well, I think the obvious one, would be Debbie Kohlberg. She has she's a Hall of Famer, obviously, in her own right, and has been, she's a legend for all of us. I would say that I speak for not only myself but others, but we came to Sacramento State to play for Debbie. She came, she talked to us, and she promised us that we would be, elite athletes, and she would represent us, and she taught us so many things of not only being a coach but a businesswoman, and how to conduct ourselves. I still carry those things on with me now. And then, Ruben, and you think about, obviously your coaches, Ruben and Wadey, but then also beyond that, Lois Matisse, our athletic trainer, she was there, and she coached us just the same as the rest of them. And then you don't think about, your media staff, but Ryan Bjork, he was our #1 fan, and he let us shine, and he showed who we were. He put all those numbers together to really represent us. So, it's a team effort on the court and off.
You were only 17 when you started at Sacramento State, the youngest player in the locker room, the only scholarship player that your freshman season. How would you describe the camaraderie amongst you and your teammates during your career there?
Yeah, I think that it definitely helped. I think they all took me under their wing, and when I came in, I was fresh and young, and Jenny Ferguson, I had played with her in club, and so she was a fellow teammate. But I wouldn't say that any of it was, per se intimidating. I think that we were all good teammates, and took me right in, and they definitely showed me that, yep, you got to work harder, and you got to show up and play. But that was what was so wonderful about our team, is we pushed each other, each and every one of us. We expected that when you came in, that you worked hard.
What was your favorite memory from your time in the Sac State uniform?
Well, I think that we all have the fun things of, friendships, and we have the fun, silly things that have happened, and the silly, thanks for bringing up the shoes. I think it was 2 left feet, by the way. So, and I had to wear Debbie's shoes for practice. I think I had a really good practice, obviously, for that one. But, my biggest one that you remember is finally when we beat U of M in our first round of NCAA. So we had worked and worked and worked, and historically we were a very good team for a decade. We were top of our conference, but we just couldn't quite make it past that first round of NCAAs, and then our senior year we did.
When we spoke last week on Zoom, you mentioned your teammates a lot and how important they were to you.
Yeah.
How often do you guys get together to this day for reunions?
Yeah, I wish it was more often. We just had our Hall of Fame a few years ago where, Kristen and I were there, and we were teammates together. So there was, 3 of us that were inducted, but Kristen and I, we were players together, and it was just so fun to hear our stories and, get back together. But right when you get with each other, you just pick it up right where you left off. There's no one else that's understood what you've went through to go through college and that time and that formative years of life, and then also work so hard on a court to achieve what we achieved. And so, it's just a special bond that never goes away.
What were some of the lessons you learned on the court that have applied to your life post-graduation?
I would say that, truthfully, I think it's, a little cliche of if you have a dream, then go make it true, but it is true. But it's not, just don't get discouraged. Like I said, it's every little thing. It's, it's when I was not a back row player. We did a lot of defense. A lot of digging, Ruben. And, and I'm a middle. But each time I worked really, really hard to do that, because that was what was asked of me. So it might not be exactly what you want to do at the time, but there's a reason for it, and trusting that, whoever it is, your supervisor now or your employer now or whoever, trusting of what you need to push through to be the best. And so at that time, you did what was asked of you each and every time. And you can't teach that. That's something that you have to have within yourself to drive and do that.
Well, Lindsay, congratulations. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Coming up, Dick Motta and Natalie Doma. Dick Motta was the head men's basketball coach at Weber State from 1960 to 68, where he coached Weber State to the first NCAA men's basketball tournament appearance for the school in 1968. He led the Wildcats to 3 Big Sky championships in 1965, 66, and 68. He helped transition Weber State from a junior college to the NCAA. before going on to have a 25-year career as an NBA head coach. First with the Chicago Bulls, where he was named the NBA Coach of the Year in 1971. Mata also coached the Washington Bullets to the 1978 NBA Championship. Dick Mata, Weber State Wildcat and member of the Big Sky Conference Hall of Fame.
No doubt you've heard the phrase, "the opera isn't over till the fat lady sings." Our next inductee may not have invented that phrase, but he made it famous in 1978 when he led the then Washington Bullets to the NBA title. After clinching Game 7 against the Seattle Supersonics, he celebrated by wearing a t-shirt with that phrase. A decade before that monumental moment, Mata left his position at head basketball coach at Weber State College to become the head coach of the Chicago Bulls. Imagine that, going from Weber State to the head coach of the Chicago Bulls. And he actually turned down the first time. A decade before that, he led tiny Grace High School in Grace, Idaho, to the state 2A championship. Least we forget about those years at Weber State from 1960 to 68. Coach Mata was there in 1963, the first season the Big Sky existed. He led Weber State to the Big Sky championship in 65, 66, and 68. Weber State went from playing junior college basketball in Mata's first 2 seasons to becoming the first Big Sky team to qualify for the NCAA championship tournament in 1968. He finished with a 40-15 Big Sky record and a 164-50 overall mark in Ogden. He recruited the great Willie Sojourner to Weber State. When Willie showed up, there was a W on the mountainside in Ogden. Coach Mata told Willie if he came, they'd add an S, knowing the school was already going to be Weber State, and so the S was going to be there. But Willie thought, I think the whole time, that that actually was why there was a WS on the mountain in Ogden. Coach Mata spent 25 years in the NBA, amassing 935 victories with Chicago, Washington, Dallas, Sacramento, and Denver. He coached the likes of Wes Unseld, Elvin Hayes, Bob Love, Jerry Sloan, Mark Aguirre, and Jason Kidd. It also should be noted referees called Mata for 398 technical fouls in the NBA. I'm kind of disappointed you didn't get to 400, Coach. Coach Mata is approaching his 93rd birthday. I mean, this man is I got goosebumps meeting him tonight. Like this is crazy. For years, Coach Mata and his family have operated the Bluebird Inn in Bear Lake in Idaho, which if you've never been there, it's one of my favorite places. Half the lake's in Idaho, half of it's in Utah. It's got Caribbean blue water, raspberry milkshakes. You can stay at the Bluebird Inn. It's an Airbnb now. Highly recommend it. His sons Kip and Kurt flew Coach Mata up in their Cessna so he could be here with us tonight. And believe me, yesterday when they left at 6 and he texted me like at 11 o'clock, Kip did, and was like, "Hey, we're at the casino." I'm like, that's great because, you know, we're at the airport, and I kept thinking, can I call him and maybe get him to come back and fly us back up there? But we are just so honored that Coach Mata is here with us tonight, and it's just amazing to welcome you to the Big Sky Hall of Fame, Coach.
Coach, when we spoke last month, you said that being inducted into the Big Sky Hall of Fame is one of the highlights of your career. John just listed off all of your career highlights. When you think about all you've accomplished, what are some of the other things on that list?
You know, I didn't play high school basketball. I'd never seen an NBA game in my life before I coached the first one. I've had so many highlights. And I feel so fortunate to be able to say that from coaching junior high to high school to junior college to 3-year school to opportunity to save Weber State College athletics through the Big Sky Conference. There were 5 teams that were going to form the conference, and we had just finished our third year. We were going into the 4-year program, and we were floundering around, and they decided to invite us into the conference, and we gladly joined. And instantly, because of the format, we had 16 games on our schedule, and that was the important thing. And the Big Sky, Jack Friel, the commissioner, had foresight, and and you can see it's turned into a reputable, honorable program.
You've coached at every level, from junior high all the way to the NBA. When we chatted last month, you said that no matter the level, you stuck to the same coaching philosophies. What were those philosophies that you used to coach some of the best players in the world and, little kids?
Well, first of all, I got to coach physical genius. And anytime you're messing with genius, it's a challenge. Start out by telling them how tremendous they are, but they owe something. They owe something to their community, to their parents, and whenever we started a program, like in high school, we met with the parents first. After I'd selected the team, we got together as a group, and we outlined the rules, and we wrote them down, and I had the parents sign it, have the students sign it, and it was non-negotiable. And I've done that throughout my career. Even in the pros, I had a set of rules, and I expect people to live up to their expectations. The coaching is like an emotional ocean. One time you're up at the crest, and the exhilaration is like, wow, and then when you get down in that trough, that's really tough. So to be able to stabilize that, like in the ocean, those people on the small boats will put out a sea anchor, and they will take away some of the crest. That anchor will lift up some of the valley, and that sea anchor has to be your faith, your family, and your friends and your obligations. And you have to stick to those things, your faith and your obligations.
You said you never watched an NBA game when you first started coaching. Who were some of the people that helped influence your coaching career?
Oh, like I say, I got cut my senior year, and it broke my heart. I learned as much from the coaching thing as by watching one coach that was terrible and working for another one that was worse. I didn't try to correct them, but I took notice. If I ever get a team, if I ever have a chance, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. And so, I learned a lot of my coaching from negatives.
What did you change? What did you do differently?
I stuck to those rules. I tell a team right from the start, like I said, you're physical genius. You're absolutely wonderful people. And I know how hard you've worked. I want you to respect how hard that I've worked. And I'll never knock you down in public. You'll never hear me say anything negative about you. And it becomes it's a two-way street. And most of the kids and all the players that I've coached, there's only one that I wouldn't have into my home for a meal.
Pretty good odds.
Yeah, but he would want double.
Coach, you went from being cut as a senior to an NBA championship coach and now a Big Sky Hall of Fame coach. How does it feel?
Oh, you can't describe it's hard to describe how, you feel, as you go along the way, things happen to you that you don't know that you deserve it. And then when you step back and say, wow, and that's how I am today. And my two sons here, I look at that dang screen right there, and I'm old, They're treating me like I'm 8 years old. They hold my hand when I'm upstairs, and just the fact that we've made it. We believe in loyalty. I've been married to my wife for 70 years, and
Congratulations.
Yeah. My life has been a miracle.
Well, Coach, it's been an absolute honor to speak with you tonight. Congratulations on being in the 2024 Big Sky Hall of Fame class.
My privilege.
Natalie Doma secured her spot as an all-time women's basketball great at Idaho State from 2004 to 08, where she led the Bengals to a 2007 NCAA women's basketball tournament appearance. Doma also led the Bengals to a pair of WNIT appearances in 2006 and 2008. She was named the Big Sky Most Valuable Player during the 06-07 season, along with Freshman of the Year in 04 and 05. She earned first-team all-conference selections in her final 3 seasons at Idaho State. Natalie Doma, Idaho State Bengal and member of the Big Sky Conference Hall of Fame.
It may have been the convertible Mustang that convinced Natalie Doma to attend Idaho State. No, Idaho State didn't commit any NCAA violations by giving Natalie a sports car, even though in today's world that's like totally cool. When then Idaho State coach John Newley was recruiting Doma, he decided to rent a sleek car to make a splash. Newley had to take the car via ferry to the British Columbia island Doma lived on. According to Newley, Doma was awestruck by the Mustang. She ended up at Idaho State, and she ended up a really big deal. She led the Bengals to the 2007 Big Sky Championship and a date with Stanford. She scored 32 points in that loss. She was the Big Sky Freshman of the Year and an MVP. She scored 2,296 career points and pulled down 1,174 rebounds. Both numbers were Big Sky records when she finished in 2008. She currently ranks second all-time in points, rebounds, and field goals made. Natalie Doma was a big deal in Pocatello in the Big Sky Conference. Big Deal Doma. That was her nickname. How did she get that nickname? Well, one day she was involved in a fender bender in downtown Pocatello. Coach Newley said Doma called him. Coach, this lady got out of the car and she was really mad. She wanted my insurance. Coach Newley was like, well, this is the United States. Like, that's what we do here when you get in an accident. You give them their insurance number. Well, Coach, I asked her if she knew who I was. I told her, I'm Natalie Doma. I'm kind of a big deal around here. From that point on, Big Deal Doma became her nickname. It was all in good fun. That's not who she was. She wasn't a prima donna. She wasn't egotistical. Well, Natalie, I'm here to tell you right now, you are a big deal. And now you are a Big Sky Hall of Famer. Welcome to the Big Sky Hall of Fame, Natalie.
John was telling me that fender bender story earlier and how you said, what do I do? And your coach said, this is the United States. Well, I want to ask you, what do you do in Canada when you get into an accident? What's the protocol there?
Well, you see, actually, I did not have a car. It was my friend's car that I was driving. Oh. And I got rear-ended, and I didn't know what to do because I didn't have insurance. It was her car. So I learned a lot in that experience. Of what insurance was for your car and what to do if you get into an accident.
Life lessons, life lessons. We'll bring it back to basketball and the Hall of Fame now, Natalie. Congratulations. When we spoke last month, you made it very clear that this is not a you award. This is an us award, and you would not be here without your teammates and your coaches. What would you like to say to them about this honor and how they helped get you here?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you said. I would not be here without them. They pushed me. My freshman year, I came in as a very young player from Canada. And I had a lot to learn, and I had teammates yell at me and push me to be a better player. I would be, struggling to finish the suicides, and it just, I would not have had the success I had without my teammates and coaches.
What did you learn about yourself your freshman year adjusting to life in the United States and as a college athlete?
You have to work hard. There was a lot. It was a hard adjustment. I was homesick a little bit, but my team really stood behind me and pushed me to be better and to have fun, through all of it.
When you think about freshman year Natalie to now Big Sky Hall of Fame basketball player Natalie, what do you think she would say to the you sitting right here?
Yeah, I mean, to dream, to dream and work hard. I was a 10-year-old kid when I first started playing basketball, and I had a dream, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I had to work hard and push through. I had to sacrifice, but to never give up on your dreams, I think, is what, definitely say.
You were also on the Big Sky's top 50 female athletes list that came out a few years ago in celebration of their 50th anniversary. What did that honor mean to you at that time?
That was huge. I mean, there's so many good athletes that, are in the Big Sky over 50 years. And to be honored, it just goes to show how hard work pays off, how, the sacrifices that I made, not being able to do some things as a young kid because I had to play basketball. It was a huge honor.
You're a girl mom. Mm-hmm. You have 3 daughters. What do you hope they can learn from your career at Idaho State?
To never give up on their dreams. That they, if they have a dream, to push and to work hard and to just never give up on their dreams.
Are they athletes?
They are, yeah. So I have a 6-year-old who plays softball and swims, and then I have a 4-year-old that's going to start playing soccer. I'm hoping basketball is in their future. I'm not going to push it yet, but that would be my dream for them.
This year, we saw record viewership in the Women's March Madness tournament. The WNBA is filling arenas. What does it mean to you to see the sport that you grew up loving expanding the way it has over the last couple of years?
I think it's amazing for this sport. Caitlin Clark has made a huge impact and changed the trajectory, of women's basketball. I think all of us had a part in it as well. Looking back, but just it's a huge thing for women's basketball to get the recognition and the viewings and just the support and the fans.
How can we keep this momentum and continue the growth of not just women's basketball, but women's sports across the United States?
I think it's just, being an example for the kids, getting out there and coaching them, speaking to them, just supporting them and just showing them that anything is possible if you put the time and the effort and and the work to do it.
I want to go back to your career. You have had a laundry list of accomplishments. When you look back at everything you've accomplished at Idaho State, what are you most proud of?
I definitely would say my junior year we made it to the NCAA tournament, the Stanford game. That's definitely one of my most proud moments. Even though we lost, as a college athlete, that's one of your dreams is to go to that tournament, and so we actually did make it. And then, just being inducted into my Hall of Fame at ISU was another huge accomplishment. You never really have these, I guess goals. Like I never thought I would be a Hall of Famer, but to actually see it come true and to actually come into fruition is very, very overwhelming and very exciting.
You told me how you found out you were going to be in the Hall of Fame here. How did you find out the unique way that you were going to be inducted into the Big Sky Hall of Fame?
I got a Facebook message from John Casper telling me that I needed to give him a call or to reach out to him. And I was like, what? For one, I was like, who's John Casper? I probably should have known who he was, but and so I was like, okay, I really need to reach out to him. Like, what does he have to tell me? And then as soon as I think I called you. Yeah, I called you, and I don't know if I cried or what, but it was a very overwhelming moment and surreal. Like I said, like you don't expect these accolades as a college athlete, and so to have it happen is pretty cool.
Natalie, congratulations. We're excited to have you in the Big Sky Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Coming up, Eric Meyer. Eric Meyer played football at Eastern Washington from 2002 to 2005 and won the Walter Payton Award in his final season. Meyer was named Big Sky Most Valuable Player in 2004 and 2005, while earning all-conference first-team honors in both seasons. Meyer set 8 career records during his playing career at Eastern Washington, with 5 single-season marks and 1 single-game record with the Eagles. He also threw for 4,003 yards in 2005, which was a single-season record for the Eagles at the time, and marked just the 12th player in FCS history to throw over 4,000 yards in a single season. Eric Meyer, Eastern Washington Eagle and member of the Big Sky Conference Hall of Fame.
All right. We have reached our final inductee of the night. The amount of people in attendance tonight to support Eric Meyer, to me, says all you need to know about the former Eastern Washington quarterback. I mean, Michael Roos, who was inducted into this Hall of Fame last year, former NFL All-Pro, he's here tonight again to support a guy he used to block and protect. So, Michael, thank you for being here again. But he's not the only one. Eric sent me a list last week, and I just thought it was amazing. I mean, Eric Kimball, Matt Alfred, I don't want to forget anyone, but all these guys that played together. And I know they gathered a few hours ago, I think, over at Epic, and I think they've been having fun. And that's awesome. That's what this is all about. And I'll get to this because it feels like deja vu of the last time Eric Meyer was at the Big Sky Kickoff, but we'll get that in a minute. But nothing but respect. That's what former All-American offensive lineman Matt Alford said about Eric Meyer. He was an incredible talent. He had a knack for reaching everyone on the team. He always had a way of connecting. He brought toughness, mental and physical toughness, and ability to create magic and create confidence in the team. Meyer became the 5th Big Sky quarterback to win the Walter Payton Award when he threw for 4,003 yards with 30 touchdowns and just 5 interceptions while leading the Eagles to the FCS playoffs. Meyer was a 2-time Big Sky Offensive MVP, and he went on to a great career in the Arena Football League, many of those right here in Spokane for the Shock. 2 other things I know about Eric Meyer. Number 1, he was a heck of a baseball player. He was drafted multiple times in the draft, including late in his college life. He hadn't played baseball in many years. But some scouts came and saw him. He was throwing 94, 95, 96 miles an hour. The other thing I know about Eric Meyer is he likes to have fun. My first year at the Big Sky Conference, 20 years ago, or 19 years ago, so this was 2005 before his senior year, Eric represented the Eagles at the summer kickoff back was in Park City, Utah. Meyer and some other players failed to show up for breakfast on Tuesday morning. I was banging on doors to make sure they made it to a scheduled photo shoot. I always felt Eric was the ringleader behind whatever shenanigans happened the previous night that led them all to sleep in. Eric, you're back at the summer kickoff, and I could tell things really haven't changed. I mean, we told you Eric, earlier today, it was like, hey, everyone, be here at 5:15. We got some things to go over. Eric's like, I'll see you at 6:30. We had to go over to Epic, I think, like, hey, guys, we got to get going here. We got a live show. So, and some things never change. You know what, though? Tonight, when this is over, you can have all the fun you want. I won't be knocking on your door in the morning. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it, Eags. Please welcome to the Big Sky Hall of Fame, Eric Meyer.
Eric, you have about 20 of your former teammates here. John mentioned it, and you were just telling me before we went live that you were over, had a little pre-party, and at that pre-party you watched your 2004 highlight tapes. What was that like, watching that with your former teammates?
Well, it was pretty emotional. I know my mom came up to me and she said, hey, before you start this video, can you introduce all your teammates? So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do that, Mom. So kind of got everyone quiet, turned the music off, about to start the highlight video, and got emotional real quick. So I said, hey, excuse me, and I pretty much already started crying. And I look over, and what kind of made it easier and funny was I look over and look at one of my teammates, former roommate, David Shoemaker, and I'm crying. I look over there, and he's crying. So I was like, oh, okay, that's good. But no, it was an emotional time. It was good. It was great fellowship. But just all these guys here tonight, a lot of them were in that 2004 highlight video, and we were celebrating every time someone scored a touchdown, got a sack, Tom Finnerty, got a pick, David Shoemaker, True Fawn, all these guys, Jesse Hendricks, B. Myers. I can name all these guys here, man. But what makes it so special is obviously my family being here, and these guys 20 years ago that I haven't talked to in a long time, that haven't seen them in 20 plus years, but one phone call and they were here. It's the bond that we built was so special 20 years ago. That's what makes this thing so special tonight.
When was the last time you saw those clips?
Not gonna lie, I watch them quite a bit. I do. It's funny because, I like to see myself throw touchdowns. I can't lie. If you guys talk to my best friend Brett, his wife Jessica made it all the way up from Southern California as well. Sometimes when I go to his house when I'm home for a weekend, and it'll be late night, and then we'll put our 2000 highlight films from high school on. And his wife hates it, but we love the music, we love the celebration, the touchdowns, the winning. But so I watch it quite a bit, to be honest with you.
You know what? I appreciate the honesty. You mentioned your mom wanting to be introduced to all your former teammates prior to rewatching those clips. Your parents and siblings are here. Yes. Your parents never missed a game during your Eastern Washington career. What did their support, or what has their support meant to you over the years?
I mean, overall, you talk about, I think every game I ever played in, my parents were at every single game. My dad was my head coach all the way till my sophomore year in high school. My mom was the cheerleading coach, and she did Mauna Loa hula dancing, and they were doing halftime shows at our Pop Warner games. And then having my brother and sister, them four is, I could truly say how lucky I am and how blessed I am. A lot of people don't get to experience that. To be 1,300 miles away from home, from La Mirada, California, up to Cheney, Washington, that's a big change. But them four, my parents, my brother, and my sister, they made that change so easy. And obviously, along with the teammates, my head coach Wolfie, head coach Aaron Best, those guys made that change very easy, just with all the support and love that I had.
You mentioned your dad was your head coach. You were honest when I asked about watching the clips. Be honest with me now. How was he as a head coach? What was that like?
Well, he always brings up, or my mom always brings up, he brings up the fact that, one day I'm going to write a book and he's going to have his own chapter. In 1994, La Mirada Sun Devils, we ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. I was 11 years old. It was Halloween night. All my friends were already dressed up, ready to go out. And we were practicing. It was a Friday night, and we're practicing. And it was wet. It was late in the year, so obviously end of October. But I was playing strong safety at the time. It was a wide pitch. I missed the tackle, and my dad looked at me, stopped it, and looked at me and said, "We're running the same damn play, and you better make the tackle, probably another word into that before the tackle. And I said, oh, okay. And same play, I ran, I slipped. And he blew the whistle, kicked me out of practice, said, get out of here. So I didn't know where to go. So I ran to the sideline. And then he took his keys out of his pocket, threw them, and he said, no, farther. So I went, sat in the car for another hour until practice was over, and I was crying, waiting for Halloween night, and yeah, it wasn't a fun ride home, but it, no, but you talk about that, my dad just having so much perfection and gave me the competitiveness of losing was never okay. So that's what I always appreciate about that story. Yeah, it's funny. Oh, he's always me, too mean. No, he instilled competitiveness and the drive, and losing was never okay. So that's what I always appreciate about that story, and obviously playing for my dad.
You're now a coach yourself. How does that experience, learning from your dad and also your time as a player, help you relate to your current players that you're coaching?
It does. I remember as a kid, obviously growing up playing for my dad, and then playing for Coach Wolf and playing for Coach Bess and Baldwin. You know, as a player, I remember what triggered me to play good, you know, and I remember what triggered me not to play good. So taking those qualities from those coaches, you know, in my playing time as a player and trying to instill that in our players, that's what I try to instill in them and give them the confidence to go out there and play mistake-free football and go out there and just have fun.
You also got to coach your brother, bringing it full circle. Dad coached you, you coached your brother. You're 16 years older than your brother. What was that experience like, getting to coach him?
Well, it was amazing. Well, first of all, the 16 years older, I remember my mom and dad told me when they were pregnant. I didn't believe it. I was in shock. I'm a sophomore in high school, and I didn't think that could happen. But seeing my little brother gave me so much to play for. I knew, you know, seeing him as a little kid, I wanted to be a mentor. I wanted him to look up to his big bro, and I want to be like that guy. So I knew him being born and him growing up, I knew that I had to be as much as I could be and give it my all to make sure that he was proud of me. And then being able to coach him at the high school level was so amazing. I mean, that's probably one of my best experiences ever having in football was our head coach at the time at La Mirada. He had his baby was being born on game night. So I started calling the plays, and my brother was the quarterback. So I remember one point where he came up to me, and I'm, you know, kind of thinking, and he gave me a pat on the shoulder and goes, "You good, bro?" So, but that experience was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had in football.
Well, I hope that being part of the Big Sky Hall of Fame is right up there on your list. Eric, thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Eric, I just want to say it's still so cool to have you as part of the Big Sky Conference. He's currently a coach, assistant coach at Cal Poly, so back in California, but still part of the Big Sky. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, but seriously, go have fun tonight. I'm not going to knock on your door in the
Thank
morning.
you.
So before we call it a night, I want to thank the student athletes that are here tonight. We have 24 football players from our institutions. I think it's vital that they be a part of this to see who we are, what we are, the pride we have, and I hope you all aspire to be up here one day. I also want you all to see, you already know what being a teammate is and how important that is, and to support each other. And it's not just the Eastern Washington ones, it's the coaches that are here tonight, other former teammates who came to support their athletes. How can you not love this conference, hearing these stories tonight? We are really, the heart of the American West is one of our phrases from years ago, and it's truly, I believe we are. We do college athletics the right way. I mean, Dick Motto is here. Dick Motto is here tonight, man. Wow, and that's just, these stories have been so great. This is what it's about. This is what true college athletics is about. I am so blessed to work with such passionate and dedicated people. You heard that from what we went through, so thanks to our Big Sky staff once again for everything that went into tonight. Again, thanks to the Northern Quest Resort and Casino. It has been a tremendous honor to serve as your MC tonight. Thank you for watching. Megan, great job. Drive home safely. Good night.